Let's talk about your wife real quickly.
Oh, my wife
stood by you. I mean, just go ahead, serenade.
No, Grace is, Grace.
She's got grace, so much grace.
She's got grace, and Yemisi, which also means God honors me. So she comes from a wonderful family, and Grace is the best. Marrying her is the best decision I ever made in my life. Of all the decisions. Yeah, absolutely. I was right there in the university. She was in the university with me, and we were sitting there. I was sitting in a cafeteria in the university with a friend of mine, and there walks in. It was in 1970. It was 1980, and there comes somebody who walks in and looks at us, and I looked at her, and she came to our table, and I said, "What's your name?" She's very beautiful, so I caught my attention. And so we got introduced to each other by this friend of ours, mutual friend. And I said, "What's your room number?" And she told me her hostel and her room number. But immediately I was so excited I forgot. My heart was palpitating and so on. So afterwards I got her room number. I went in there. I was a pretty good cook, right? So I put all my skills into making this fried chicken, well done and everything, like all the spices you can imagine. I did it, and I took it to her hostel, and I put it next to her bed with a note. She wasn't there, with a guy you met yesterday at the canteen, and that was how we struck our relationship. I think she was excited that, oh God, this guy's a cook, and anyway, the rest is history.
As I say.
Yeah, but my wife is my best friend. She's my counselor. She's my prayer partner. She's my strength. She is several times sharper than myself, and I actually. There's nothing that I do that I don't discuss intellectually with her, because she holds me intellectually on the grinding mill. So I used to tell President Jonathan when I was minister in Nigeria that, Mr. President, it's not possible for me to come to the Federal Executive Council and bring a memo here that is rejected. And he said, "No, Akin, what do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, because it has to go through a grace test at home."
Yeah,
and it was a
process.
A very, very brutal process. And so that's who she is. She supports me. She's a great listener. She's a great supporter, and she put her career on hold all throughout these years, just listening to me, supporting me, and helping me. So whatever I am today is a joint work of ours over the years. And President Obasanjo is the one who gets it really well. He says, "Well, Akin," he calls me Akin 45, and he calls Yemisi Grace, he calls her Yemisi 55. And I asked him why. He said, because 55% of your success is due to her, and 45% is due to me. I've been trying to get 1% more since that time. I've not succeeded.
You won't. That's a good place not succeed. Let's talk about also this story of you coming back, to Nigeria, then serving in Jonathan's cabinet, then fighting the mafia in the fertilizer sector.
Yeah, first and foremost, I owe a lot of gratitude to President Obasanjo, because when he nominated me to be considered as a minister in Nigeria, he didn't tell me. I had no clue to President Jonathan. I just got a call from President Jonathan saying I should come to Nigeria. So I called Baba, I said, "Baba, what's this?" Oh, he said, "Oh, by the way, yeah. I mentioned your name," just casually like that. And that was how I went to Nigeria. And of course, then I was appointed by President Jonathan to be his minister. For me, public service, because I grew up, my father was a public servant, and in those days, civil service was really very, very rigorous. I come to public service with exactly that in mind, public service, to make sure that you deliver good service, responsible service, efficient service, and credible service to people. And I always put people at the core of what I do, because it came from my own background. The various schools that I went, people matter to me more than anything else. So when I became minister, I said to myself, well, look, the first thing I have to do is that the farmers must get access to inputs. So if they don't get access to very good quality seeds or fertilizers, I might as well just pack my bag and go home, because the whole system that I met on ground was highly inefficient. Government bureaucracy, government will buy fertilizers and store fertilizers and distribute fertilizers through different channels. And for decades, an average of 11% of all the fertilizers bought and sold by government ever got to the farmers. So It's like the fertilizers developed legs and hands and walked away, to other countries and all of that. So one morning I got up and I told my wife, I said, look, honey, I'm going to have to fight this system down. If I don't succeed, then I should pack my bags and go back home. And of course, what I did was I figured out that Coca-Cola, everywhere you went, in any part of Africa, you'll find Coca-Cola in the remotest of villages. But the government wasn't buying Coca-Cola, it wasn't distributing Coca-Cola. So why couldn't I find Coca-Cola there, or Fanta, or anything? How come I can't find seed and fertilizers? That means it's a very, very bad system. So I made a decision that I will not sign any fertilizer contract or any seed contract with anybody as minister for 4 years. All the seed companies, all the fertilizer companies have to be like Coca-Cola. Get your product to those that need it. All I had to do from the government side is make sure they have support to have effective demand for the product that you have. But that value chain you have to build all the way to yourself. And then we build a machinery from, just all these small shops that sell you Fanta, Coke, and cigarettes in the villages. We turn them into input suppliers, right? Last mile delivery, all across the country. It was revolutionary. So, and I started something called the electronic wallet system, which was a way in which you delivered digitized payments to farmers by their phones with vouchers for buying seeds and fertilizers. It doesn't matter which part of the country you are in, you could get access to it. So we ended decades of corruption in the fertilizer sector using that system.
What was the backlash like? Because you faced a lot of backlash then. In fact, a lot of people tried twisting the narrative of what happened then. What was the backlash like, and how did you surmount it?
I remember telling my wife, I said, honey, look, I'm about to embark on a very, very dangerous pathway here. God help me as I go, but I cannot guarantee you that I'll be back alive. That's what I told her. Because, look, whatever is worth doing, you do it for God, you do it for people. You have to take risk on the behalf of those that have no voice.
So you feared you could have been killed when you were trying to tackle?
Well, I wouldn't say kill. I thought it was a very dangerous thing to do. I was aware of how dangerous that was. But I wasn't deterred, is what I want to say. We went after to try and deal with that. And what we did, basically, there was a lot of resistance. Of course, the fertilizer importers were not happy, the seed importers were not happy, and so on. But I think they tested me and see whether I was going to be worried. I wasn't worried. But President Jonathan stood behind me like a rock, and so that helped my policy. And what we did was just bring in transparency. Look, if you have a bunch of thieves in a room, right? All you have to do is just bring in light, and they'll be running out, because transparency is so important. And so I decided that, okay, digital technology, mobile phones, farmers had mobile phones. And when you were saying that people some people thought I actually bought phones and gave them to farmers. No, it was not true. The farmers had their phones. All we had to do is, I got your biometric information, and we were able to take your ID number to that biometric information into your phone number, and we registered you all across the country. So the farmers got their inputs in the remotest of villages. But just to finish that point, that program worked so much that the percentage of farmers that received government subsidized fertilizers increased from 11% historical to 94%. So all that transformation, massive, you saw in Nigeria, was because we were able to end that corruption and get the farm inputs to the farmers and see what they did. I trust Nigerian farmers a lot.
But like they say, culture will eat strategy from